What's going on, guys? My name is Rumble Skrash. In today's video we're gonna be doing the tier list video of the best teams in Power Rumble. So I have actually been thinking about this video, and I have actually thought some different way of actually doing the tier list. Like, it's very similar to the last one, but every time I do this kind of videos I try to make improvements and everything. But before I actually start, I want to make an announcement. So I actually decided to, because some of my subscribers told me that that would be a great idea, and stuff, that I open like a Twitch or a Patreon account. Like, I didn't really know how that worked, so I investigated a little bit and I decided to create a Patreon account. So actually, so my idea was like, maybe if you guys wanna help me out, I would really appreciate it. There's no obligation. There's no need to. Like, I would really appreciate it. And but yeah, so I thought that maybe the people that wanted to support me there, like, maybe I could get some advice, personalized advice on what teams to run, what defense team, attacking teams, depending on the characters that they have or that they miss, or something like that. Maybe advice on where to save gems if they want to focus on PvP, stuff like that. And maybe also thoughts about teams and team building and stuff. I also thought about, like, maybe we can do like a group and then we can talk regularly about PvP and stuff like that. I think that would be something quite cool. Also, because PvP is cool if you can talk about it. Like, if you're playing, sometimes it can get a little bit boring, but it's really cool to try different variations and share the results and everything. So I think that's a very cool idea that we can try to do. So I would really appreciate it if you wanted to help me there. I will link it here in the description of the video, but like, feel free to do whatever you want. At the end of the day, I really appreciate you guys, whether you help me there or not. Like, you really show me a lot of support here on the channel, so I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, so without further, let's actually start with this tier list. So here, by the way, the order that you're seeing here, it's not representative of anything at all. It's just the mention of the teams and everything, and maybe a little bit by what icon is every team gonna be represented by. So I have decided to separate the quick team with versus Akaino, which is this one, and the quick team without versus Akaino. Also, I have here put this side team, but this is not the side team because I have decided to do something a little bit different, and I'm gonna be talking about the side team and the quick teams in particular in a moment. So, but apart from these two teams that are a little bit more different, I'm gonna be talking about what I did with those teams. The rest is Spirit Stock Standards. So the slashers, yeah, I am including inside slashers all of the variations, because right now slashers are not the meta anymore. So it's just one more team, which is really powerful, but it's not like it depends on the exact variation in positioning as before, because it was mirror matches. Now I'm including the slashers here. Then here a hybrid quick and side team, which is really strong with Kaido and everything. And yeah, and then the in team also, I'm not including all of the variations here. And then this driven with Roger team, that it was actually working really nice at the first release of Kaido, like really strong team. And we're gonna be seeing how it performs now with the side meta and quick meta and everything. But yeah, so also here we have the complete Dex team with Rizoro on the bench, really strong team. I really recommend you guys to try it if you have the Cavendish and everything, because some of these units are actually free to play, so that's actually really cool. And then the Rainbow team with Sanji Pudding. I think the Rainbow team with Sanji Pudding is a little bit outdated now, but with Sanji Pudding I do think it's quite strong. And here you have just an example of a team, but yeah, you could build other variations. So yeah, but now I'm gonna be talking about what I'm gonna be doing with the quick and side team. So I have decided to include like all of inside the side team, all of the variations that you could build, because I'm more interested in focusing around the value that the certain units have. So I have decided to do that, and here you can see mainly almost all of the characters that actually are inside a side team. And here maybe other units that you could try to use is this Nami, maybe this recruit Robin. Sorry, there's like weird units here that shouldn't be here, like this recruit Crocus, Maybe this rare crit Kuma is actually really interesting. The rare crit Viola, I really like it. So also the Kalgaro Nolan, like all these units are interesting units for a side team. Well, here there's already it, but here the Kuzan. But all these units are actually really interesting units to run, and as well as this rare recruit Nami from the Luffy Sanji patch. Like all of these units, you could try some different stuff with it, but I'm gonna be talking about these main variations, and I'm also gonna be talking about a little bit the counters that you can build with side teams. So I'm gonna be including all of these variations inside one thing that I'm gonna be calling the side team, because I see the side team as okay, there's all of these possible characters and they have a value of the things that the particular team can do, and depending on the team that you're going up against or not, you can use a variation or another one. So that is the side team, like the fact that you can change things around like this, and it's gonna be the same with the quick team, because with the meta teams I think I'm gonna be doing that instead of separating every variation and ranking every variation like I did in my previous tier list. I'm gonna be including the general value of the team and how valuable it is to have a particular team like a side team. So how valuable it is for you to have pulled NL and stuff like that if you have other units like the counter units like Corazon and stuff like that. How useful it is actually, and to see this in a tier list, because if I was doing the variations, yeah, the side team with Corazon is very good against Quick, but against other variations it might struggle. So that's why it would appear lower on the list, so it wouldn't be really representative of the actual value of that team. So I have decided to do something like that, and I have decided to order a little bit what is my opinion on what are the results that I have seen inside side teams, what I think is actually the strongest side team, and I do think the Shirahoshi is actually the strongest side team. I will try to show you at the end of this video some screenshots of results of matches between side teams and everything, also between other teams and side and stuff like that. But I'm also gonna try to prove a little bit like this order that I have decided. Well, I don't have Germa, but for what I have seen, I do think it's the second strongest. I maybe I'm wrong because I haven't been able to test it, but for what I have seen by going up against them, I saw that they were performing really well like that. So they would be probably or something around here. And the Kuzen's really strong, and the Boa, I really like the Boa, but the problem is that early you don't get the defense, and then she only targets one unit, which can be good and bad at the same time. So yeah, really strong team, but not one of the most powerful side teams, I would say. And then the other weird variations, I would say more for defenses teams. But yeah, like also one variations that I really like is, for example, with this Nami, and then you can build like a very powerful team, like for example this, I think you can. So I do think this might actually be like somewhere around here, so don't mind this order that much. Like it's just my opinion and my idea, like it's that just doesn't really matter that much, but I do really like the Shirahoshi. So now let's actually talk about the quick teams and some different variations that you could do. So here we have the quick teams, and I have actually decided to separate the versus Akainu quick team and the no versus Akainu quick team, and I have just put okay with Kuzan and without the Zoro, or with the Zoro and without Kuzan, the same with both of these, and then with no Bellamy and just using 4 legends. So stuff like that. I'm not gonna be ranking all of these. These are not in order. I do think the versus Akainu quick teams are much better than the not versus Akainu teams, so obviously these 3 are on top. I'm not really sure which one is best to use, Kuzan or Tesoro. I think it really depends on the team that you're going up against. I do like using both of them, so I do think it depends on the unit on the team that you're going up against. But yeah, so also you can use either Ivankov or Stasi. Like for example, if you use Ivankov, I think you can still run a combination like that. I do like more Ivankov than Stasi, because Ivankov's defense is only the level 3 and Stasi's level 4, but Ivankov is the whole match, and Stasi expires. So I do like Ivankov more than Stasi. But yeah, so this is gonna be the quick teams, but we're gonna be doing a very similar tier list than the previous tier list, in which we're gonna be doing 2 alignment charts, placing in the 4 axes, like the quick team, the side team, the dex team, and the slashers. I have decided to include these 4. and then seeing where the particular teams go, and then after that putting the results together inside one alignment chart and see what actually is the order that appears. So I do think that that is one very cool way to do a tier list, and we're gonna stay with that. So let's actually start with the first alignment chart. So let's actually start with the first alignment chart. So as you have seen, I have placed in the vertical axis the if it wins against Quick or it loses against Quick, and in the horizontal axis the slashers. So I'm including all of the variations there. And when I talk about Quick, I mainly talk about the Quick team, like the most powerful Quick team in my opinion, which is the team that has both versus Akainu and B2 Kaido. So yeah, like as always, it will happen a little bit that the fact that we are including the meta, like the most powerful teams inside the alignment chart, makes that the team that it's the same, it might struggle, like it might not obviously in a mirror match get a guaranteed win because it's a mirror match. So yeah, but I decided to include like above the 50% like the mirror matches. So against Quick, the Quick team versus Akainu is gonna in general win, so like not in a lot of wins, but it's also to compensate a little bit the fact that yeah, it should be 50-50 because it's a mirror match, but I'm gonna be putting it a little bit higher because like there's some other teams that do not have that their same exact team in one of the axes, so it's to compensate a little bit that statistic. So yeah, and then against slashers it really wins slashers because now with versus Akainu you massively debuff Odin, well not debuff them, you just destroy him. So yeah, really strong against slashers. So yeah, definitely it's gonna be something like here. Now I'm gonna be talking about the side team, and when remember, as I have separated hybrid teams and side teams, I'm not actually including here the side team with Kaido, which is I think the one that performs the best against slashers. So I do think that the side team will perform really well against slashers, but not as much as the Kaido. And then against Quick, as I'm including here, for example, the variations where you can put the Zoro at the 5th spot in the side team, because that is the value of a side team, and I'm including all of this stuff inside the side team. I do think that against Quick you can get a lot of wins, so you can be really well like this, for example. And as I said though, against slashers, as I'm not including the hybrid variations, it performs a little bit worse than the full meta Quick team with versus Akainu and B2 Kaido. But yeah, then the Quick team without versus Akainu is gonna be represented by Kaido. So let's see, against the Quick team, as it's 50-50, it will win 50-50 against no versus Akainu teams, and it will kind of lose against versus Akainu teams. So I do think it's gonna be, to compensate, I'm gonna be leaving it a little bit like here, but yeah, in theory it should not be winning against full meta Quick teams if you don't have Akainu. I think it might a little bit if you have good RNG, but yeah. So, and against slashers, we already saw that it was winning slashers, not as much as the side team though, I think. So I'm gonna be leaving it like here, and then we are gonna be talking about the Sanji Pudding Rainbow team. So against Quick, I do think that it loses. I don't think it loses a lot, but it definitely loses. So I'm gonna be putting it like here. And then against slashers, we were already saying that it could show some results against slashers, so it was winning sometimes. So I decided to include it somewhere like here. And now about the Dex team. Now the Dex team is gonna be revolutionized by that PvP Cavendish, well, has already been by that PvP Cavendish and the B3 Zoro. So Dex teams are actually really good now. Like in the previous tier list, Dex teams were actually quite bad, but now it's a whole different thing. So against Quick, I do think that they lose because yeah, like they are really tanky, but Quick is just very good. Now with versus Akainu even more, maybe probably in a similar level than the Rainbow team against Quick, but against slashers I do think it performs better against slashers. So I do think it's gonna be close to the Quick team without versus Akainu, I think. And then the Int teams are actually in a very bad place right now. Yeah, they lose against Quick, and they lose against slashers because they were already losing against slashers. So yeah, it will go somewhere like here. And now we're gonna be talking about the hybrid team. Like when I say hybrid team, I'm putting the Kuzan here because I didn't know what to. Sorry, it's not here. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what icon to put because I couldn't put Enel, I couldn't put Kaido, so I put the Kuzan. But a lot of the times the hybrid, it's not including a Kuzan, for example. There's a B3 law instead of Kuzan, but this is the one that I think that performs the best against slashers. And against Squeak, actually, I think it can kind of die, so I'm gonna be leaving it like here. Yeah, probably something like this. Is really a strong team, but yeah, maybe like not die. Like against versus Akaino, I do think that it can kind of lose. So yeah, probably like here. And then here we have the Bellamy representing the Driven with Kaido and Roger team. So against Squeak, I do think that it loses. So it's like this. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah. It didn't have a really long life, this team, but it was for some weeks it was actually, I think, the strongest team, but now it's a whole different thing. And but I wanted to mention that for some weeks I did think that this team was the strongest, and it actually, I think it was, but now we got a lot of new units and a lot of things changed. So here I do think against slashers it won better than the Dex teams, I think, because we were already showing that, but not as much as the early Quick team with Queen, I would say. Without Queen, it was getting better results than the early Quick team, but with the Quick team with Queen and Kaido was already destroying a lot of slashers. And finally, we will see the slashers now. So yeah, the slashers, against the slashers is kind of 50-50. And yeah, I will give it the benefit of it's a mirror match, so yeah, a little bit higher. And then against Squeak it definitely does lose, so yeah, probably something like this. And this is gonna be for the first alignment chart, so now we're gonna be doing the second one. So here in this second alignment chart, we have actually included in the vertical axis the side team, and by that I'm including like the full side teams, not the Corazon and everything, because that would be really specific. And yeah, a lot of the teams can counter that if they found this in the defense, but using it as an attack to counter other teams is a whole different thing. So yeah, when I say side team, I'm including like the Shirahoshi variation, the Germa variation, the Boa variation, Bitukuzen variation, and stuff like that, and also other weird variations with rare goods and stuff like that. So yeah, now we are first gonna be having to analyze side teams against side. So yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate this one is the first one, but yeah. So as I was saying, it's a mirror match. I will give it the benefit of the doubt, but the thing also is that the side teams can actually build some kind of counters using, for example, units like Katekuri, Konis, or maybe even Kaido to counter kind of Sai. So I do think that it's a little bit over the 50% Sai, and you can do pretty cool stuff against Sai with Sai. I already uploaded a video talking about it and using Shirahoshi to beat certain variations of the Sai team. So yeah, as I was mentioning, I do think that this team is performing really well. And against Dex, I also think that it gets the win a lot of the times, because you can put, for example, Kaku in the 5th spot and you just destroy them. Like, it's no joke. Like it's just really crazy. Now Sanji Pudding here, it's represented the Rainbow team. So the Rainbow team does lose against Sai, not like by a lot, but it does lose. And then against Dex, I do think that it can get some wins against Dex, but not like a crazy win. So I would be putting it like here. And then the Dexing itself, yeah, as I was saying, I will give it the benefit of being a mirror match, so to compensate the statistics and everything, but I will put it a little bit higher than 50%, because you can change things around to kind of counter other Dex teams. And then against Sai it does lose, so yeah, it does lose like that, but I will not put so much of a loss, because if you're going up against Sai, you can change things around also like this, and maybe you can try to not get as fast of a win of a loss than that you can get with a win with a side team against Dex. But yeah, so then now the in team, actually it does lose against Sai, but as it kind of compensates, like it does not lose as much, I would say. Like, it does lose, but in the future I do think int teams are gonna rise again, also because Sai and int are the colors that counter each other, so all these new int units are gonna be having Sai damage resistance and everything. So yeah, and then against Dex, I do think that it loses, I do think that it loses, but not by a lot, but it does lose, I think. So something like this, I would say. And then against, well, I do think that they lose by a little bit more than just that against Sai. So yeah, now the hybrid team actually it's really strong, because against Sai it can actually get some wins and very good result depending on the variation that you're using. So yeah, it's over the 50% definitely in my opinion, and against Dex it's the same, like probably something like here. I do think something like here it's actually more accurate. And yeah, so next one is gonna be the slashers. So as I was saying, slashers are not in a very good place right now, because they lose against Dex, because Dex was beating them a lot of the time, the new Dex, and then they massively lose against Sai. So yeah, something like this I would say probably. And now the quick team with versus Akaino now. So the quick team with versus Akaino here, we have, and that against Sai it does win, because if you're counting that the enemy team has a full side team, and you have versus Akaino, you get in general wins. So I would say a little bit better than a mirror match with another side team. Now I'm not really 100% sure of that, because at the moment that I'm recording, versus Akaino is not out yet, but for what I have been told for people in JP and everything, and the information that I got of the quick meta, I do think that this is happening like that. Maybe I am completely wrong there. We're gonna have to see with the release of Ace versus Akaino, but I had to record this tier list now because I'm gonna be out for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to upload this kind of list. So yeah, and then against Dex it does win also, because there's kind of a Dex meta, but I do think that putting Kaku in a side team has more versatility than putting Kaku inside the quick team. Because in the side team you have really powerful units that like Roger, that it's Rainbow and it's buffing Kaku, while in the quick team Kaku is getting buffed by no one except for maybe an Ivankov if you're using it, but yeah, like that would be it. So I do think that in order to beat Dex it's better to use a side team than a quick team, but well, I might be wrong by that, but there's not a lot of difference. Both of them work really well, I think, in my opinion. And then with the quick team without versus Akaino, so just B2 Kaido and other units, yeah, it can win, I think, against Sai, but not a lot. Like, I will be putting it like this because maybe you can plan things around, but I do think that to beat Sai with quick you need actually versus Akaino. But as we are including, like, okay, you don't have to go up against the core zone, yeah, and variation. If it's a core zone it loses, but if it's not the core zone you can actually get some good results. So I'm gonna be putting like this. Quick is really strong, and then against Dex it does win also, and I would say it performs a little bit better than the hybrid team, so I will be putting it somewhere around here, but I mean probably they perform similar, so maybe like this. And now the driven team with Roger and Kaido, and so yeah, and Dofi. So we're gonna be saying how this one goes. So I do think it loses against Sai, and a little bit more than Dex teams actually, so somewhere like this. And against Dex I do think that it can get some wins, because it can actually get really tanky with the Zoro there, but not a lot. So probably somewhere like here. I do think that I'm pretty content with that. I think I'm pretty satisfied with that. So now we're gonna be checking the results and actually seeing where all the units are placed, and then we will organize them in tiers, because in the alignment chart it will appear like, okay, they are in the same group and these others are in the same group, and yeah. So yeah, let's actually do that. So let's actually start with these two alignment charts. So the first one is gonna be the versus Akaino team. So let's actually see the two results. So versus Akaino team was here and here. So it's gonna be somewhere like around here. So we're gonna be placing him in here, probably like somewhere like here. We're gonna be doing something like that probably. So yeah, for the moment I'm gonna be leaving it here. So now the NL, so we can see the both of the results. So here and here I think is very similar to yes. So I do think that I have calculated it, and wait a minute, I have calculated it, and it leaves like some place like here, so a little bit behind of the quick versus Akaino team, but really close to it. Now the next one is gonna be the quick team with without versus Akaino. So let's see the both of the results. So it's here and here, so the middle would be somewhere like here, so we're gonna be putting him there, so somewhere like here probably. And now the rainbow team with Sanji putting it's here and here, so here and here I would put him close to the middle, because we're bringing every team, remember, to the center diagonal, because we want to see a picture like that, so probably somewhere like here. And now we have the Dex team, so let's see the both of the results of the Dex team. So here and here, yeah, it does look like it's a little bit behind on the rainbow team, but not by much, I would say, somewhere like here. And now the in team, it's here and here, so yeah, it's the first team that's gonna be on this end row, like in the end part of the both of the alignment charts. So yeah, so here we have the hybrid team, so it's here and here. Okay, so yes, I have calculated it, and that it should be somewhere like in here, not really that superior, but yeah. And then the driven team with Bellamy and Roger and Kaido, it's here, down here, and here, so the middle should be somewhere like here, so a little bit behind on the Dex team, I would say, so somewhere like here. And finally we have the Slasher team, so Slasher team here and here. It is, I do think it is a little bit superior for the moment than the in team, but not by a lot. Like, I do think they are really close together, so somewhere like here. So let's actually see the final result of the order of tier list. So actually I have decided to include in tier 3 both of the Slasher team and in team. This could make changes with depending on the variations that you're using of the in team and the variations that you're using of the Slasher team, but yeah, in general this is gonna be what it is. Now the next one is gonna be the tier 2, so I have decided to include 3 teams in the tier 2, because if you see here, there's the Slashers and the in team in the tier 3, both, all of these are together. These 3 teams would be the tier 2, these 2 teams would be tier 1, and these 2 teams would be tier 0. So I have decided to include in tier 2 the Rainbow, the Dex team, and the hybrid driven Roger team. So I do think all 3 teams are very equal. I think, in my opinion, they are all very strong. For what my calculations have been, it has told me that well, the Rainbow team is the best out of the 3, but it's approximation, so it definitely could be like that, because Dex is really strong. So yeah, it's really close to being, I do think I'm gonna be leaving it like that. Dex is really close to being tier 1, but now with versus Akainu, the side teams and everything, I do think it fell a little bit, as I was mentioning with this driven Roger team. Like, some weeks ago Dex was one of the strongest teams too, but now things change a lot in just a very short periods of time. So yeah. So now talking about tier 1, so we have here the quick team without versus Akainu. I do think that the hybrid team is better than the quick team without versus Akainu. And like, both of these teams I think are really close. They are really strong. I have made videos, and if not, I will be making videos about each of them in the future. In particular, I have done videos about the quick team without versus Akainu, and I'm gonna be releasing a video about this team too and how to beat it. It's really strong. It's the team that performs the best, I think, in my opinion, against Slashers, maybe apart from the quick team with versus Akainu. So yeah, definitely a really amazing team. So yeah, and now the both of the teams in tier 0, actually I have put the side team and the quick team with versus Akainu. So you guys can see that the quick meta has already started, so quick is gonna be at the top for a long time, but we have to take a lot of attention and take note on these second and third teams, because you can do some very interesting stuff with them. So yeah, side team, I do think now side team is one of the strongest teams, and also the Shirahoshi, I really love this variation. So I do think side is very strong, and you can for example run Corazon and actually beat the top team. So it's not like this team is unbeatable. Like, you can run a Corazon here and beat this team. Like, it's so crazy. So Actually, I do think that Power Rumble is much more interesting now than before with slashers, that it was everything variations of slashers. Because for example, if you don't have Roger, you can build other teams. If you don't have NL, you can build other teams. If you don't have versus Akainu, you can build other teams. If you don't have Kaido, this for example doesn't have Kaido, this doesn't have Kaido, this doesn't have Kaido, so there's a lot of options that you can do. So yeah, I do really think that PvP is very exciting now, and it's much more interesting. And in the future too, like in the future with the release of Legend Moria, the in team is gonna rise from here probably to the top, because in team is really amazing, and Moria is just so good. And in the future with versus Shanks and versus Whitebeard, it will also change again. The in team is gonna be amazingly strong, the side team is gonna be really strong, the quick team will have gotten way more stronger with Legend Magellan and Legend Anniversary Luffy. Now I do think that this tier list, when Magellan releases, it might change a little bit, because I do think that the Corazon variation of the side team kind of struggles against the full quick team with Magellan here instead of B3 Kuzan, or instead of this. So yeah, I really like that, like all of these changes are happening, but I needed to do a tier list, and I have to do it at some point. So yeah, like in some weeks it's gonna change a little bit, but yeah, I do think that for the moment it's like that, because also not a lot of people are gonna be able to pull the Magellan, the Kaido, and the versus Akainu, I think. So we don't really have to worry that much about it. But yeah, so now I'm gonna be showing you some results of matches to maybe show you better ways of my decisions and everything. But yeah, so here is some results of matches. I have already showed some videos of me beating the quick team without versus Akainu, with a lot of different teams, but here you can see some results with Corazon there. But it's gonna be interesting to see with versus Akainu in a quick team. But as I'm saying, I am recording this video before the release of versus Akainu, so I am not able to do that, and I had to base my decision in this tier list about what people in JP side told me. So I do think, and I hope that it's gonna be something like that. But yeah, so this is gonna be one result of matches, but let's actually see some more. So this is actually the side team with Shirahoshi destroying a rainbow team. I haven't managed to find a rainbow team with Sanji Pudding, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I do hope they'll find it in the future. So I have had to make some supposition and assumptions with that, without having been able to test it a lot. I did test it a couple of times, but yeah. Here, for example, we have a variation of a side team that you can use to beat a side team. So you can do interesting stuff like that. Same here with a Shirahoshi variation that we are beating. Also beating with some kind of hybrid team, the side team. A Corazon beating the quick team. Here Shirahoshi beating the hybrid team. I'm not gonna be talking about some of these extensively, because I'm gonna be making specific videos about it. So, but I want to show some results. Here you can see a Kaku being used inside a side team to destroy Dex team. It didn't have a Zoro on the bench, unfortunately, but yeah. Here a rare crit variation beating a side team. A Shirahoshi destroying a B3 Boa, but you have already seen a video of that, so you can already see some of that in that video. Here you can even see that I am able to beat the quick team without versus Akainu without Corazon, just with Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi beating a hybrid team. Shirahoshi beating another hybrid team without Roger. A Corazon beating the quick team without versus Akainu, destroying slashers, but you have already seen videos about that. Here a Corazon beating actually a quick team with Corazon. It was kind of weird, but yeah. Another one. Here the Corazon variation beating the Driven, and with, well, not with Roger, but the Driven variation. Some variations of Sai to beat Sai. Some other Corazon beating not exactly that Driven with Roger team, but almost. A Kaku variation beating a Dex team. Shirahoshi variation beating the B2 Kuzan, well, actually with Kalgar and Nolan there. Another time beating the Dex team, this time with full Dex team with B3 Zora and everything on the bench. But that's gonna be it for today's, guys. So definitely let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this tier list, and if you disagree with some placements of some of the results that I have done. But that is actually the good thing about this way of doing tier lists on alignment charts, that you can actually see where you disagree with. For example, if you don't agree with the positioning of this quick team, you can say, okay, why? And you go to the alignment charts and see, oh, I don't agree. I think quick loses more against Dex, so it should be more here. Like, you can actually do that. So I do think that this is a good way to see where you disagree, and you can maybe tell me that, because maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been able to test all of those teams because it's a lot of testings that you would have to do, and also because I have to record this video earlier than the release of Versus Volcano, so maybe there's some things that are wrong. I hope they are not, but yeah, so definitely let me know in the comment section down below if you disagree with something, also what you thought about this tier list, and yeah, and what you think in general also about the thing that I mentioned at the beginning about that thing of making a Patreon account. I do think that can be kind of cool, but yeah, well, let me know what you think. That's gonna be it for today. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.